Ever get the feeling that the so-called smartest people are actually the most dangerous? They use jargon you don't understand to predict a future they can't possibly know, all to get you dizzy enough so they can slip a hand into your pocket. Is that real wisdom, or is it just a well-designed game? There's a fundamental flaw in human nature. We worship authority and complexity. If something is explained in a way that's baffling and full of technical terms you've never heard, people assume it must be profound and correct. The Wall Street is crawling with folks with 160 IQs. They invent all sorts of complex models, charts, and terms designed to make you feel like an idiot. They throw the Greek alphabet at you to get your head spinning. And for one reason only, to convince you that investing is some kind of arcane science you could never understand. So you'll just meekly hand over your hard-earned money and let them take their cut. They stand there in expensive suits, in fancy boardrooms, pointing at a bunch of colorful charts, talking about quantitative hedging and structured products. You're nodding along like you get it, but your mind is a total blank. In the end, you just pull out your wallet because you're afraid of looking stupid. But what's the truth? The truth is, the principles that actually work are often as simple as an old saying. I've spent my entire life working with numbers, but the tools I use to make decisions aren't supercomputers. They're common sense. Does a business make money? Do you need a fancy model to figure that out? Just look at its financial statements. Look at its bank account. It's right there. Will people still be using its product in 10 years? Just think about it. Razors, Coca-Cola, chocolate people used these things 100 years ago. And it's a pretty safe bet they'll still be using them 100 years from now. But how many of this year's hottest tech concepts will still be around in 5 years? I don't know, you don't know, and those experts don't know either. And one more thing, the most important thing, is the management honest? Do they treat their shareholders like partners or as suckers to be fleeced? You don't need a PhD to figure this stuff out. If an idea needs a bunch of words you don't understand to be explained, it's probably a bad idea. A truly great business is one that any idiot can run, because sooner or later one will. Stay away from people who are deliberately obscure. Insist on using your own common sense. Simplicity is the most enduring strength. Don't let others use complexity to blackmail your wallet, and certainly don't let it hijack your brain. Smart is not the same as wise. That's the most expensive lesson I've ever learned. Our world rewards smarts, especially the kind of intelligence that can solve complex problems quickly. But in the game of investing, the rewards go to wisdom. And wisdom, more often than not, is about what you don't times do. Smart people always want to do something. They get itchy fingers. They think sitting still is a waste of their talent. They buy today, sell tomorrow, chase every hot trend, and analyze every news headline. Their brains are like high-speed engines, processing an endless stream of information to produce one smart decision after another. And the result? They run around like crazy, but they're often just spinning their wheels or even losing ground. They certainly generate a lot of commissions for their brokers, though true wisdom is knowing how to wait. It's like being a good farmer. He plants his seeds, then he patiently waters, fertilizes, and weeds. Then he lets the sun and time do the rest of the work. He doesn't dig up the seed every day to check its growth. And he certainly doesn't pull up his own crop just because his neighbor's seems to be growing a little faster. He knows that fruit forced to ripen too soon is never sweet. Investing is the same deal. You find a good company one, you understand, with a durable competitive advantage. Buy it at a fair price, and then go live your life. Go fishing, play with your grandkids, read a good book, leave the rest to time. Time is my best friend, and it's the greatest enemy of every speculator. Those smart guys, they want to beat time. They're obsessed with efficiency and shortcuts. They think that with faster computers and more complex algorithms, they can figure out tomorrow's stock price before anyone else. That's like trying to peek at the dealer's cards in a poker game. You might get away with it once in a while, but in the long run, the house is going to throw you out. Me, I don't race against time. I invite time to be my partner. Compound interest sounds pretty ordinary, but it's like a small snowball at the top of a very long hill. At first, it's nothing special. But if the slope is long enough and the snow is sticky enough, it will eventually become an avalanche that can flatten everything in its path. That long slope, that's time. So don't ask me if the market will be up or down next quarter. I have no idea. That's like asking me if it will rain tomorrow. I might carry an umbrella, but I'm not going to cancel my walk just because of the forecast. The market's short-term gyrations are the weather. The long-term value of a great business is the climate. Your job is to adapt to the climate, not to guess the weather. Those people who are glued to the stock ticker all day, their moods rising and falling, with the red and green lines, they're trying to play a game about climate with the mindset of a weather gambler. How can they possibly win? It's more important to avoid trouble than it is to find brilliant solutions. All my life I've tried not to be smart, but to consistently not be stupid. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things in the world, because human nature is full of impulses to do foolish things. You see someone else getting rich, and you feel a pang of jealousy. That's envy. You're afraid of missing the next big run-up, so you jump in at any price. That's greed. The market takes a dive, and you get scared out of your wits, selling all your good holdings. That's fear. Envy, greed, and fear. Those three things have destroyed more wealth than all the wars in history combined. You don't have to be a genius. You just have to avoid being an idiot at critical moments. So how do you avoid being an idiot? First, admit your own ignorance. 99% of the things in this world you don't understand. I don't either. So stay within your circle of competence. What's that? It's the stuff you genuinely understand. I understand Coke, insurance, and railroads, because those businesses haven't changed much in decades. Their business models are so simple, you could write them on the back of a napkin. But the latest in biotech or semiconductor technology, I don't have a clue, so I don't touch it. I absolutely refuse. Even if it goes to the moon, that's somebody else's money, not mine. The greatest disaster for a person is not missing an opportunity to make money, but jumping into a field they know nothing about and drowning in it. Guard your circle. Even if it's only the size of a coin, guard it fiercely. Inside that circle, you're the expert. Outside of it, you're just the sucker waiting to be fleeced. The smart guys are always trying to expand their circle. They feel like they need to know a little bit about everything. The result? They know a little bit about a lot of things, but they have no real mastery of anything. Their knowledge is like an ocean a mile wide and an inch deep. Your knowledge should be like a well. It might not look like much, but it's deep enough to give you the purest water, the fastest way to get where you want to go. Everything in our era is about speed, fast food, fast delivery, get rich quick. People have lost their patience. If something doesn't show results in a few days or months, they consider it a failure. They buy a stock and expect it to double by next week. They start a company and expect to go public in a year. That mentality is poison. Anything of value takes time to build. It takes time to build a house, to grow a great tree, to raise a child, and to build a business. The accumulation of wealth is no different. I've seen too many people who tried to take a shortcut end up at a dead end. They chase so-called insider tips, attend all sorts of get-rich-quick seminars, and buy software that claims to predict the market. They think they found the Holy Grail. All they really found is a trap designed specifically for them. Remember, anything that promises you fast, easy riches is a scam. 100% of the time, no exceptions. The real path to wealth is long and boring. There isn't much scenery, just the day in, day out discipline of patience and persistence. There are very few people on this road because most of them have run off to the noisy, exciting side roads looking for a thrill. So when everyone else is sprinting, you have to learn to stroll. When the whole market is in a frenzy, when even the shoeshine boy on the corner is giving you stock tips, what you need to do is quietly step aside, or maybe even go home and take a nap. Conversely, when there's blood in the streets, when everyone is panic selling and the newspaper headlines are screaming about the end of the world, that's when you should open your eyes wide and see if anyone is tossing out priceless gold bars as if they were trash. All you have to do is bend over and pick them up. This takes courage. But more than that, it takes the ability to think for yourself and not get swept away by the emotions of the crowd. Understand things deeply. Don't just know a lot of things. Our problem isn't too little information. It's too much noise. Every day, the TV, the internet, the newspapers, they're all bombarding you. All kinds of experts, analysts, and commentators, each with their own story. Today they say interest rates are going up. Tomorrow they say they're going down. Today they're bullish on this industry. Tomorrow they say some other industry is the future. If you listen to them, you'll spend all your time just changing direction. I stopped reading the financial news a long time ago. To me, that stuff is mental junk food. It has no nutritional value, and it will just make you sick. What I spend my time reading are annual reports, especially reports from 10 or 20 years ago. I want to see how a company dealt with challenges over a long period. I want to see if what management told shareholders in good times and bad actually came true. The boring numbers in an annual report are 100 times more honest than the most charismatic talking head on television. Learn to turn off the noise. Give yourself a quiet space to think. What you need is depth, not breadth. It's better to truly understand one company inside and out than to know the stock tickers of 100 companies. You have to be like a detective. Study its history, its products, its competitors, its corporate culture, to try to answer one question. If I had enough money, would I be willing to buy this entire company and run it myself? If the answer is yes, then what's to hesitate about buying a small piece of it? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't touch a single share, no matter how cheap it seems. The price is what you pay. Value is what you get. This is the simplest and most central concept in investing, yet most people go their whole lives without understanding it. They mistake price fluctuations for changes in value. A stock drops from $100 to $50, and they think the company is finished, its value cut in half. The stock goes from $50 to $100, and they think the company has a brilliant future. Its value doubled. What an absurd way to think. Imagine you have a neighbor who is very emotionally unstable. He owns a house that's identical to yours. Some days, he's euphoric and runs over to tell you he'd buy your house for $3 million. A few days later, he's deeply depressed and comes to you crying, offering to sell you his house for just $500,000. Would you believe that the value of your house was actually swinging that wildly just because of his offers? Of course not. No, the value of your house is based on its location, size, and condition, not on the mood swings of your crazy neighbor. The market is your crazy neighbor. It gives you a price quote every single day, sometimes manic, sometimes depressed. Your job isn't to analyze why he's happy today and sad tomorrow. That's a job for a psychiatrist. Your job is to take advantage of his moods. When he quotes you a ridiculously high price, you can think about selling to him. When his fear leads him to quote a fire sale price, you can think about buying from him. The only prerequisite is that you must have your own internal yardstick for what the thing is truly worth. If you don't have that yardstick, you'll end up being led around by the nose, and eventually you'll become just as emotional as he is. The character is destiny. That saying is more true in investing than anywhere else. You don't need to be a math genius or an economics expert, but you absolutely must have a stable, resilient temperament. You have to be able to endure boredom, because most of the time, the right decision is to do nothing. You have to be able to withstand loneliness, because when you make a decision that goes against the crowd, you will almost certainly be alone. And you might even be ridiculed as a fool. You need an even keel, not getting cocky when you're winning, or despondent when you're losing. I've seen so many brilliant people who understood everything except how to control themselves. Their brains told them what to do, but their guts wouldn't listen. When the market went up, greed took over. When the market went down, Fear was in charge. They were slaves to their own emotions. In the end, the game of investing is a war against yourself. Your biggest enemy isn't the market or other people. It's the guy staring back at you from the mirror. If you can conquer those primal impulses inside yourself, you're already on the path to success. Don't play games you don't understand. Over the years, there's always some new fad. It used to be internet stocks. Then it was financial derivatives. Now it's things like blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Every single time someone tells you this is a new paradigm, or this is world-changing technology, or this time it's different, let me give you a piece of advice from an old man. There's nothing new under the sun. Every bubble looks different on the outside, but the internal logic is always the same. Use human greed to inflate a giant balloon, and then, right before it pops, get the last group of suckers to buy in. I'm not saying new technology is bad. I'm just saying I don't understand it. I can't see how these things will reliably generate cash flow. I can't see where their moat is, and if I don't understand it, I don't participate. You should only make money from things you understand. If you miss an opportunity, you miss it. The world is full of opportunities to make money. You don't need that one. To risk the capital you've worked so hard to accumulate on a chance you don't fundamentally understand is the height of foolishness. Remember rule no, the one of investing. Never lose money. Rule no 2 is never forget. Rule no 1. This doesn't mean every stock you buy can't go down. It means you must not make decisions that could lead to a permanent loss of capital. Risking your principal to chase an uncertain high return isn't investing. It's gambling. When all is said and done, investing is just one part of life. It shouldn't be your whole life. If you spend your days anxious about stock prices, unable to eat or sleep, then you're a failure. Even if you make all the money in the world, you've lost something far more valuable than money, your peace of mind. What I look for is sleep well at night, investing. I buy companies with simple businesses, solid finances, and trustworthy management. After I buy them, I wouldn't worry even if the stock market closed for 10 years, because I know that 10 years from now, they'll still be there, still selling their products and making their money, and probably making more of it than they are now. That is the power of simplicity. It frees you from the noise of the market and lets you return to the fundamentals of business. A good company is like a good fruit tree. Your job isn't to shake it every day. It's to give it time to grow. It will bear sweet fruit on its own. The people jumping up and down under the tree don't get any fruit. They just get a head full of leaves. I've lived a long time. I've seen wars, depressions, booms, and busts. The world is always changing, and technology advances every day. But human nature, it never changes. The market will always be driven by the same things that were written about 2,000 years ago: greed and fear. If you can understand that and act in the opposite manner, you've already beaten 90% of the participants in the market, including those smart guys on Wall Street. So, forget the complex terminology. Go back to the most basic questions. Is this a good business? Can I understand it? It'll be better in 10 years than it is today. Can I trust the management? Is the current price reasonable? If the answers to all those questions are yes, then act. If not, then do nothing. It's that simple. It really is. Don't let anyone tell you it's more complicated than that. Because when they do, it's usually because they're just trying to get their hands in your pockets. To stick to common sense. Be patient and think for yourself. That's the whole secret. That's all I can teach you.